This is the 2014 Honda Accord V6 Coupe. A couple of things you have to commend Honda for doing: making a coupe out of the great Accord sedan, and also putting a manual transmission and a V6 in there. A lot of car companies have walked away from coupes, they've walked away from manual transmissions, and a lot of the cars now are going to smaller four-cylinder or turbocharged four-cylinders. You can still get a V6 in this handsome looking car. Not going to spend a lot of time on the outside because I've already done a review of the four-door sedan. Make sure you watch that. Front of this car, the V6 gets LED projector headlamps. It also gets bigger 18-inch wheels, and you can spot one from the back because it's got those dual chrome exhaust tips. It's available in 3 trim levels in Canada. You can get the EX, you can get the EXL, the L stands for leather, and that comes with Navi. And you can get this car, the EXL V6 with Navi, top of the line. We'll get to the price a little bit later. First, let's have a look inside. I think the interior is almost class above, but it does have some quirky features that I'd like to see updated. Now, the first thing you notice when you get in any Accord, whether it's the sedan or this coupe, is the fact that it has a very rich looking dash. And I would say in the mid-size sedan or this coupe, it's probably the best interior. You look at other vehicles in this class and they don't have this bright work around the center console. It's got 2 screens. It's got the big screen on the top that gives you lots of information. Below that is the radio. And I do have a problem with the radio. When you want to go and change or scan for something, for example, when you're on satellite radio and you're looking for a channel that's way up and you're on one that's way down, there's no way to punch in the number. Now, a lot of systems, one like the Uconnect from Chrysler, you can actually direct tune. I listen to the CNBC all the time for business news, so I type in 112 and I get to that channel. With this one, I have to keep hitting the button, which can be annoying. That's one thing I don't like. You can save them quite easily, but initial setup can take a little bit of time. But what you see around the center console and everything that's going on here is very nice looking, class leading materials. You've got the brushed aluminum, nice looking switches, everything fits perfectly. It really is the kind of stuff you would see in a premium sedan, maybe an Acura or a Lexus, but an Accord, a Honda, this really is nice stuff. The instrument cluster is very pleasant looking as well, a great looking interior that's big. Now, I'm 6 feet tall, no problem with headroom in the front. Back seat, I sat back there. You can get in there no problem. So 4 adults could drive in this car no problem. It's got a huge long trunk. The bad news is if you want to put longer items into the cargo area, the back seat folds down, but it folds down as one unit, doesn't split. The hole is quite small, and that might be why they did that, but that's limiting for the amount of cargo you can take. So overall, comfortable, nice looking interior, kind of quirky with the radio there. You learn to live with it, but you know what? Overall, very nice interior in the Accord. Now, when I first started test driving cars 21 years ago, man, I'm getting old, back in the early 90s, when I would pick up a Japanese mid-size car, an Altima, an Accord, a Camry, even a Maxima, often it had a manual transmission, but that's really dying off. And the fact that Honda still makes a manual transmission, not just on the base model, but all the way through to their very top model, says something about the company. They believe in the driving dynamics and the connected feeling between the driver and the car, and this car definitely delivers. Now, the Accord has always been right at the very top of this class in terms of driving and handling dynamics. It comes with McPherson strut front suspension, multi-link rear suspension, and it really feels connected to the road. The base engine is a 2.4, now with direct injection. It pumps out 185 horsepower. That's the same as the sport model in the sedan. But the V6 has 278 horsepower, almost 100 horsepower jump on the 4-cylinder, and obviously a lot more torque. And when you match it with a 6-speed manual transmission, that torque really works wonders. When you put your foot into it, you can get a little of what you call torque steer, but that's very common with front-wheel drive, especially high horsepower cars. Now, would I recommend getting the V6 over the 4-cylinder? Not always. The new 4-cylinders are so good now, especially with direct injection, it really makes the car quite lively and lighter, and that's what's going to help you in the corners. The downside, though, to getting the V6 is that you're going to use more fuel. And when you drive a manual transmission, you don't shift up as often as the automatic would. And that's what today's modern automatic transmissions do. They get you into the highest gear possible with the lowest amount of revs using the torque of the engine to save money on fuel. When you drive a manual transmission, you often leave it in a lower gear so you can get more fun and power out of the engine and get horsepower at the top end of the engine versus torque at the bottom end. But if you're someone that's just attracted to straight horsepower, you like the torque, you like the sound of the V6 engine, and you want the best, well, this is the car you're definitely going to be attracted to. I do enjoy driving this car. It's kind of like a throwback time machine for me. I used to get these cars all the time. Big 6-cylinder, mid-sized car, manual transmission. It's nice to see it's still available. This Honda Accord Coupe is not an inexpensive proposition. Starts at over $26,000 for the 4-cylinder. Then you get into the leather and navy 4-cylinder. It's $31 grand. The V6 with leather and navy over $35,000. So not a cheap Honda, but it's a very narrow market. Honda probably knows this, and people who want this car are going to really want it. It's got the manual transmission, the V6, all that power. It's reminiscent of a different era. As people are walking away from this type of car, Honda's still in the mix. Not going to sell a lot of these, but the people that have them are going to be quite happy.